So, episode 2, Barn Talks with Drew and I. Again, I'm Wyatt Mascarella.
And I'm Drew Stengren.
Goal for me today is to kind of touch on a few points that I get a lot of questions on Instagram. So, my main following and the main way that I kind of do my work and work with hitters is kind of through the Instagram side of things. So, I always ask questions along the lines of like, what do you want to see? What kind of questions do you have? All those kinds of things. Some of the big pieces that I get touched on or I get asked a bunch about is approach, and then how do I get a higher exit velocity? So it's kind of two sides of the spectrum when you talk about the hitting pieces, but I think what we're going to talk about a little bit is approach and kind of why it varies for so many people. I think, actually, let me leave that back. I'll let you touch on the approach piece, and then I'll kind of go back to what I think.
So first off, having an approach when you get in the box is really important.
For sure.
In high school, I didn't have any approach whatsoever. I walked up and just hit.
So many people said like, "What's your approach? What's your approach?"
In high school, I didn't have it.
Who told us what the
No.
approach should be?
No one told us.
Never.
Yeah.
Even think about it in terms of like, I don't want to cut you off, but I'll go on my little tangent here because this is something I was definitely going to bring up. Let's think about it in terms of approach is such a blanket statement.
Yeah.
Like, what's your approach? Okay, and then some people ask you, what's your plan? Okay, well, what are you sitting? What are you looking for? All of those things revolve around the same word, approach.
Yeah.
But people translate it so differently when you talk about a plan, what you're looking for, what's your quads, whatever. People are looking for certain things, right? Now think about it in terms of really what we're trying to accomplish with an approach. We're trying to set our sights for where we're trying to hit the baseball in an approach, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, the approach is what you're looking for, what pitches that should be, what happened, all the things, right? The things that nobody ever talks about is why your approach should be something. So when they say it, they're like, your approach should be center, right center, or right center to left center, or stay right side. Nope, for right-handed hitter, left side for left-handed hitter. Nobody ever gives you the sauce. They never give you the exact reason why. They never give you what made them think that and why you should think that. Nobody ever tells you any of those things, right? For me, when I finally grew up was probably when I was 23, 24 maybe. My 2020, no, maybe end of 2019, 2020 spring training, and then 21 spring training was when I really ironed out what an approach should be. Now for me, I had really good opposite field power, and I struggled to pull the ball with backspin. Okay, that got better significantly as I got older, but that's what I struggled with. So for me, my approach was right center, left center, because I needed to keep my body through the center of the field. Now, what happens when we keep our body through the center of the field? We stay neutral. We stay in the best position as a hitter that I think a hitter can be in. So, again, going back to the point of why, I'll add a little bit more to that. If you're at a high enough level, staying right center to left center, what happens? We try to crush heaters. That's our goal. We don't want to hit the off-speed pitches. Nobody wants to hit the off-speed pitches, right? They might be easy to hit when they flip them over for strike one, whatever, but that's not our approach. So keep going back to that, right? So if I'm right center, left center, my goal in that scenario is to hit the heater there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what does that do for the off-speed pitches?
You're up front.
I'm a little bit out front for sure, but what is my goal in that scenario? If I am out front, I still have left field, or if I'm behind, I still have right field.
Yeah.
I have a full side of the field that I have as room for error when my timing may be off, which will happen. Nobody is that good where you're never off time. Never, ever. Now I'll let you touch on that, and then I'll kind of keep rolling with it.
Yeah, I mean, through my career, obviously, like I said, I didn't have really any approach in high school. It was just kind of see-ball, hit-ball, which I think hurt me in some ways, but also was benefit because I didn't overthink things. I think sometimes the issue with approach is that people overcomplicate it.
For sure.
For
sure.
The college I went to, there was an approach. Like you lived and died by that approach, and there were some guys that would kind of change it to how they were hitters, which was smart. And as I kind of got older, that's kind of what I started doing.
For sure.
But I didn't really understand what I was best at, or even looking for what I was best at, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
Until I got to pro ball. It was I got to pro ball, I was like, okay, I do this I do this extremely well. Why don't I just search for the pitches that help me do that really well?
Exactly.
And I think that's the thing. Like in college, sometimes, not saying the approach was complicated because it wasn't. It was pretty mainstream. But I don't know if it generally helped me as a hitter. Like, and sometimes I overcomplicate it to the point where it's like, okay, like you don't have to do all this exactly like this, but just for me, like trying to do what the coaches said, sometimes it hurt me in a way because I was trying too hard to do exactly what they wanted.
For sure, you're trying to just be coachable.
Yeah.
So often, somebody sticks with just one approach for 35 guys in a college roster. It's never going to work for everybody. You have guys that are different hitters by far. Your leadoff hitter usually doesn't hit for a ton of power. He's usually your fast guy that can run it. Your second hitter may have a little bit of juice, but he's more the guy that if we're in a scenario, hey, we need to get a guy over, put a bunt down, hit a ball the opposite way. Let's see what we can get happen, what we can make happen, right? But I think the big confusion is with big league hitters and then everybody else. So you watch a big league guy like, let's say Bryce Harper, for example. Bryce can go up there and punch out 4 times without taking the bat off of his shoulder, and it means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't in his approach. What was his approach? Well, maybe he was sitting a heater in the 3rd quadrant where he's really, really trying to sit on that one pitch because he can change a game with one swing.
Mm-hmm.
So if he gets 17 sliders or 6 changeups, 3 sliders, 1 heater that's just like a throwaway pitch up, nothing really to do damage with, he can sit there and take every single pitch and punch out 4 times. You know what's going to happen to him the next day?
He's going to be batting third.
He's still in the lineup,
Yeah.
and it means nothing.
Yeah.
And you know what he's probably going to do the next day? He's probably going to hit a home run. Or he's probably going to hit a double, whatever, right? It doesn't matter. But the issue is, as younger hitters, high school, college, even minor league guys, we get told to do those things. What's the worst term that I've ever heard is like, I'm blanking on the terms that it's exactly it, but it's like, be stubborn with your approach. Thank God I remember that because that was going to bug me if I didn't. Be stubborn with your approach. Why? Why do we want to be stubborn? If we're stubborn, we're giving up at bats, right? I'm trying to be a hitter that competes, and I'm trying not to strike out. I had strikeout issues. I needed to consciously think about that. My 2-strike approach was completely different than less than 2, which it should be in most scenarios.
100%.
So for me, my biggest qualm with that is I hate when a hitting coach says, be stubborn. Look what you're getting. Go hit that, only hit that. That doesn't work. It doesn't work. It won't work. Look at Jackson Holliday's high school stats. He hit 750, dude. You're telling me he looked for 1 pitch? You're out of your mind if you think that's anywhere even relevant to his approach. There's just no way. You can't look for 1 pitch. It doesn't happen all the time. It doesn't happen. That's me getting annoyed, and that's me getting frustrated with the hitting world of trying to make a 15-year-old a big league hitter. It's just, it doesn't happen. You have to, at a certain point, be see-ball, hit ball. You also have to be, at a certain point, understand that you're better than the pitcher. Your hands are better. If the catcher's catching it, you can hit it. You just have to have that faith and that trust in what you do.
100%. I think a lot of that too is like you see, like I've seen videos before. It's like Manny Ramirez in a game, watching 3 heaters right down the middle go by, and then like his next at bat, he sees a slider and hits it over the wall. And it's like those guys, like they're sitting 1 pitch. If they don't get it, they don't hit it. But when they get it, they don't miss it.
They don't.
And that's the thing. It's like a lot of those guys are so good.
So good.
They're like there's even guys who are in the big leagues right now who can't do that because they're just not that good.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying they're not good.
I was just
they're
going to say,
that good.
Let's clarify that.
They're not like Manny Ramirez good. Like there's just different levels to it. And,
no doubt about it.
I think when you get into an approach, like obviously at younger ages, I think it's good to be like, hey, all of you guys are at this approach, and then just kind of figure it out. Like figure out what you're good at. Like I'm really good at hitting the ball on the line to the opposite field. So why would I not? Like try to live to that strength.
For sure.
And I think people overcomplicate it. It's like, I'm gonna look for this ball here, like blah 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 blah. Like they just start overcomplicating. It's like, no, dude. Like I like in college, it'd be like the plate's right here, perfect. Be like, was that ball here or here?
Yeah.
Who cares, dude? Like if you can hit it and do damage to it, swing.
For sure.
Like,
dude, there were so many times when I'd be in high school and even in college, and honestly in pro ball too, to be completely fair, like you swing and you just react to certain pitches, not because you saw what you wanted, you just react. Your body just takes over sometimes. And you know what I did on the majority of those? They were home runs. And where were they? They were probably 2 balls from where I was really looking, but I gave myself a chance just by kind of being aggressive. And again, it's not like a conscious thought of like, I know what he's throwing here, I'm hacking. No, it was just one of those that happened. And
The eyes light up a little bit.
be able to react, like reacting to the ball. You got to trust your gut, man. I'm such an aggressive hitter, and obviously my strikeout numbers are a big piece of that. But I'm such an aggressive hitter that I didn't care if the fastball was middle in, middle away. I wanted to hit that pitch, so I made time for it, and I was on time for it. So if I hit it, it was a knock. If I missed it, here we go.
Yeah.
Now I have to change my approach to be like, okay, I know he's going to throw me the slider. I know he's going to throw me the curveball. Like you have to be there. One more point to go on kind of the Manny thing, and then I'll give it back to you. But the big league guys have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of pitches to look at for data. Nobody has that in the world.
Yeah.
Nobody has that in the world. Maybe in the NPL, whatever. In other professional leagues, they may have that. But like, you got to understand. Manny in that scenario could have faced that guy 15 times.
100%.
And he could have been like, you know what? Fastball percentage, sub 25. Not worried about it. Slider percentage, 65 and above percentage. Why wouldn't you look for it? In that scenario, I'm sitting on it too.
Absolutely.
I've had games where I knew exactly what guys were going to do, and I just didn't keep the ball fair. I have a perfect scenario when we were playing at TD Ameritrade. I don't know if that's the same name anymore. It might be a different name
I think
now,
it still
but
is.
the College World Series field.
Yeah.
We're playing Creighton, and I think it's the Sunday game. I had a phenomenal weekend. I'm up, bases loaded, and we have 2 outs, and their closer comes in. The closer's like a 75% slider guy. There's not a chance I'm looking for a heater. Not a chance. And I didn't. I sat slider, first pitch slider, I hook a home run foul. Why do I do that with my head? Because that's your chance.
Yeah, I mean, you
get one.
You get one, and you see it, and like you were thinking, like, okay, I'm gonna sit slider, and you see it, and your eyes light up, and then everything just speeds up.
Exactly.
It's like you try to do too much with it.
For sure. In that scenario, I needed to try and hit that ball to left center. I needed to try and hit that ball to the big part of the field, because if my timing is correct, and if I'm ready for the heater in that scenario, even though I wasn't, my bat is going to keep that ball fair. I'm staying inside of it enough to keep it fair to the left field side without hooking that thing, man. And there's nothing more demoralizing than, 1, being in the position to help your team, 2, being prepared. I knew I was ready. I wasn't having a great year, but I had a great weekend, and I knew what was going to happen. I saw it, and I didn't execute it. That hurts more than anything. Looking back on it, being like, I was ready.
What could have been?
What could have been? It should have happened. It didn't happen.
And that's the hardest thing with baseball too. Is like you can't beat yourself up about that stuff because it's a game of failure.
For sure.
You come into the game, you're sitting there, you're like, dude, like I should have hit that ball over the wall. It's like, how often do you actually do that?
Well, exactly right. How many times have I said that to everybody?
Yeah.
How many
If I was just a little more on time there, that's a double.
Yeah.
Instead I grounded out.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like
or the how many times you tried to hit home run and actually hit home run? Never. So why was I thinking it?
yeah.
Who knows?
But that's like even you kind of went on with it like thinking left center instead of like thinking left. Like that was a huge issue I ran into in college was my BPs were like, let's see how many homers I can hit.
Yeah.
Like there's just like there's an immaturity to it, and I think there's every kid goes through it. It's like they go into BP, it's like, dang, I hit 14 homers and 30 swings. Like that was sweet. That's hurting you more than anything when it's a BP basketball. Like you can even like argue now like how much better my swing is now, just the fact that like every time I'm hitting off the machine, anything, I'm trying to hit the ball up the middle. It's like if I'm a little late, it's the right center. If I'm a little early, then that's the left center. Like, and that's the thing. Like, you're so much more connected when you think middle of the field. Everything's way more connected. You stay on the ball, direction, everything. Like, it's just you are a better hitter when you think middle of the field.
1,000%. And obviously, there's certain people that, you know, it is what it is. They might be better thinking that, but everybody's different. That's why everybody's different. 1,000%. I think there's so many times where you can go to a big league game and you can watch guys hit and you can be like, you know exactly what his plan is.
Mm.
Now, back to the point of, big league guys have this plan, have that plan, that's okay, but speaking to the younger hitter that may be watching this, or the college hitter, or even the minor league hitter that might be listening to this, like, nothing's perfect, ever. Nothing's ever perfect. But give yourself the best chance to keep the ball in play. We can't get knocks if we don't hit the ball in play.
Yeah, like don't get mad if you get jammed and hit a little jam shot single up the middle.
1,000%.
Those hits
It's
are-
a knock, man.
Knocks or not.
15 knocks on a big league season raises the points. I don't even know, 50 points.
That's one
Points,
thing. Like you see the younger kids, they'll like miss hit a ball and get a single. They're like, oh.
They don't get it.
It's
man.
like, dude, those are sweet.
Those are sweet. Because when you barrel it and they catch it, what does that feel like?
It's the worst.
It's like, hit that ball
Then
110
the
to the
kids who walk
shortstop.
in the dugout, I would have rather punched out. No,
You definitely wouldn't have. No, grow up.
yeah.
1,000%. It's the approach is such an interesting thing, and obviously that's a topic I think we could roll with for a long time. Which obviously we'll keep talking a little bit about it, but there's just, like I said, there's just no right answer. You need to have the understanding of your approach is molding over time. When you're 15, your approach isn't going to be the same when you're 18. When you're 22, it's not going to be the same as it was when you're 18, right? Understand how your game needs to be and kind of roll from there. And the last thing I'll touch on, and I'll get it back to you, is really understanding like what a young hitter's approach should be. A young hitter's approach shouldn't be home runs. A young hitter's approach should be doubles in the gap and fly. Even if you're not fast, hit the ball in the gaps, because what's going to happen? You are going to mature. You are going to get stronger. You are going to get bigger. If you rake and you're a Jose Altuve until you're 16, what do you think you're going to do when you put 40 pounds on, 60 pounds on, and now you start swinging a heavier bat? You actually start getting the right extension, the right angles that you're supposed to be hitting with. Like, what do you expect? There's so many kids that I look at, like, I get a 14 to 15, maybe 14 to 16-year-old hitter in here, and they have great barrel awareness. Brother, it's a no-brainer. You should never try to hit a home run. Literally never. Get to a point where you find a barrel and it's hard for you to miss it. Then we can start looking at ways to get you a little bit more power. But again, I'm not worried about it at 14 to 16. I'm worried about it when you're 22 and you're looking for a job.
Yeah.
That's a different scenario. Or you're 24, 26, and you're in the system and you're like, hey man, like, I don't think I can stay in the system if I don't show power numbers. That's different. Now it's about finding barrels, how consistent, how often we can, and see where we can kind of take it.
Yeah. And like going on with like finding barrels as often as you can, the approach will change throughout the season.
1,000.
When I was at my best, my approach changed pitcher to pitcher.
Yes.
It's like, okay, this guy does this, I gotta think this. Or like you'd face a new team and that team starts busting you in. Like I had a game where I was swinging it really well. We went into a new series.
Yeah.
We were at home, and first two at bats, broke a bat and got a jam shot ground out. And I walked up to my coach. I'm like, damn, they're just busting me in.
Yeah.
And I remember our pitching coach goes, dude, just like come, get off the plate a little bit, cheat to it, see what happens.
Exactly
And I
right.
was like, you know what, you're right. Like, screw it. Like, let's see what happens. Got off the plate 2 inches, maybe, like just enough. And I was like, first pitch, I'm selling out heater.
For
It's gonna
sure.
be heater in, double down the left field line. It was
Yeah.
like it was first pitch, and you're like,
It's exactly.
you. It's a saying. I'm gonna say it wrong probably. It's, look for what you're going to get, not what you want to get.
For sure. 1,000%. I think about it in terms of like, what do we do as catchers? If I'm trying to get me out, what am I doing to get myself out?
Sometimes it hurts me. Sometimes because I overthink.
For sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But in that scenario, like, if you can't hit the heater in, I'm not getting away from it.
Yeah.
I'm throwing you 17 of them.
Well, that was the whole
making
thing.
you prove it.
In the dugout, we had like a in-depth scouting report about every hitter, and if the guy beat us, like this guy can't hit a slider. He beats us, it's like make him beat you again with it.
With the slider, 100%.
Yeah. 'Cause
100%.
if he can't do it all season and he does it one time,
exactly.
make him
right.
do it again. And then if he does it again, then you make the adjustment. You're like, okay,
1000%.
he's gotten us twice with it. He's made that adjustment.
There's so much into that pitch calling side of things, and that's probably something we'll touch on with with the catching side. But dude, it's exactly what you said. Look for what you're going to get, not what you want to get. It's so different, man. Like in that scenario, you selling out for it is perfect because what happened the next at bat, they didn't do it again.
No,
They went back to whatever it was, or for the rest of the series, they went back to that. Like,
and that's what I'm saying. Like with the approach, how it changes.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, he made the adjustment. Now they're gonna pitch me differently, and it's fun because it's the game within the game.
For sure.
Like
it's the chess match.
Exactly, and that's something I really enjoy. It's fun.
It's fun.
Just trying to outsmart people.
For sure.
Probably catchers enjoy it more because they do it more often, but
no doubt about it.
It's fun being able to kind of outsmart guys sometimes, and sometimes you lose.
There's
most of the time.
There's a lot of times we lose. There's a lot of times we win, right? Like there's some fun things with that. One last thing that I'll touch on in the approach side of things is like understanding where and when you need to be better. I talked about it earlier with the younger guys looking gap to gap. Then I was in that position at 21. After my junior season, I just hit really well. I hit 340, 5 home runs, however many RBIs, walked not very much because I was an aggressive hitter, but like putting the ball in play was an advantage. I was like, you know what, hitting 340, I really should probably try to tick my power numbers up a little bit. Maybe hit a couple more doubles, hit a couple more homers. Like, let's see what we can get. That summer, I'm in the Northwoods, and I have a really good coach that throws BP. What was my goal? I was trying to learn how to backspin the ball properly. Like, I just couldn't do it. For whatever reason, I couldn't do it. 2 of my teammates could swing the crap out of it. Really well. Did that very easily. So it was easy for me to ask about those things. One of the kids' name was Jacob Vanderwall. His dad played big league baseball with the Tigers. He got a chance to play professionally as well after a little bit. But, like, having someone you can bounce ideas off of. Like, hey, man, what does this feel like? What does that feel like? And then being able to simulate it in a batting practice on a field. Go out there and see the ball fly, man. You have people picking the baseballs for you. It's such a luxury in BP. Go out there and be like, hey, man, today everybody's off. Me and Jake are off. Who else? Whoever else is off. We're ready to rake. Let's go see what we can do. Have a home run derby. Let's see how many balls we can backspin to the pull side. Sounds awful because it's not in our approach, right?
Yeah.
But you have to learn how to do it in order to do it. You can't just take a swing and it's going to work. So for me, going into there and being able to do that at certain points, that taught me how to actually execute the right way to learn how to backspin a baseball properly. I wasn't getting worse by doing it. I was actually prioritizing my needs and my failures to like what I can actually do. And some of those things helped me tremendously. Being able to just kind of go out there 3, 5, maybe 6 times over the summer and do that monumentally changed my career for sure. I was able to actually learn how to do it.
Definitely. I think you hinted at it, but surrounding yourself with guys that succeed, like the guys who've done it for a while and who are really good, those are the guys you want to surround yourself with because they're the ones who don't have the answers, but might have more answers than you do.
No doubt about it.
And I think that's really huge. But also what you said, going out and having fun in BP sometimes. Like obviously you have to. It's a job sometimes. It's a business. You got to do what makes you better. But say you got an off day, it's like, hey, this is a game. It's a game you played in your backyard when you were a kid. This is like all that stuff. It's like go have fun. Like
and you're still benefiting yourself at times.
100%. And it's like sometimes I get to a point where it's like, oh, I was trying to do this and I did it in BP. It's like I just took it too serious. It's like, no, this next round I'm gonna go see how far I can hit the ball. And I know that's totally contradicting what we said 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But it's also there's some times that like, okay, like let's go have some fun. We're playing a child's game.
Yeah, it's that point of understanding it's the point of understanding how many games you play, right?
100%.
So like
100%.
in a high school season, if you play 30 games and you do that 6 times, that's once a week or once every 5 games, right? Now, if you do that and you play 140 games, we're talking 6 days out of the 140 games we did that we got to do that. Again, it's the fun side of it, but for me, I needed to work on it.
Yeah.
I needed to see what I could do in order to kind of have that faith and that trust in myself to do it in the game. So again, it's the fun side of it, but we were just kind of doing it at a different time when there's less stress on us trying to figure out for the big moments. It was when we wanted to learn how to do it. All those sorts of things.
Literally what we did today when I was hitting.
Literally.
I got a little too mechanical and I was like too robotic to where I was stiff. And I literally said to you, I was like, these next 3 swings, I'm just going to like take a G-hack. See how far I can hit it. I smoked the ball and then it was like, okay, I want that feel. But not that exact feel, but it's just understanding, like, there's sometimes where it's like, this game is so technical and mechanical, but if you think that, you're screwed.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. Now, we'll kind of close that point because the approach point's a good point. We can talk about that for a long time as well. So if that's something more people want information on, obviously comment that below. Say, hey, keep going on the approach side of things, and him and I will obviously keep rolling with it. But the next point was obviously the exit velocity thing. That might be the number one thing that I get in my DMs whenever someone messages me or comments on some things. Like, exit velocity is such an easily manipulated tool. So EV is great. You can hit a ball 110 miles an hour off the tee. That's awesome. But when the ball's coming in at 98, I don't think you're hitting it 110. So it varies, man. Tee exit velocity is it's a good tool to see if you have some bat speed, some power, right? That's okay. What can you generate with your body? That's all right. But the piece that really counts, what happens off the machine, what happens off of an arm, when you're uncomfortable, when the game's on the line, when you actually have to do well. Those are the velocities for me that actually matter. So if you're out there and you're DMing me, hey man, my exit velocity off the tee is this, it is what it is, right? I can help you get that number up without a doubt. You give me 5 minutes, I can get you 5 miles an hour more, or 3 to 5 probably, just by changing 1, 2 things. Literally very minute, minuscule things. I can change those in a matter of seconds. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's gotten so amplified over the years, just with social media and stuff like that. Seeing, like, you see Giancarlo Stanton hit a ball 120 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A lot of that is, well, first off, it's over there. I'm putting it in the weight room. Those guys are jacked. Like, those guys, huge. They're great rotational athletes and they're really strong. And that's some of the thing is, like, these kids at 10 years old are like, oh, I need to improve my exit velocity and stuff like that. It's like, get strong, like, rotational,
Yes.
like, get rotational.
Yeah.
And it gets lost sometimes. It's like, I've never been a guy who throws up huge exit velocity. It's like, I can hit a ball pretty hard, but it's not getting off the tee and swinging as hard as you can. Like,
that's not the point of it.
There's no benefit to it. You see the guys off the tee, it's like, you see the videos, like, guy hit a 110 off the, it's a ground ball to shortstop.
Always.
And it's like, okay, yeah, I think exit velocity is obviously important. The harder you hit the ball, the more likely it is to get hit.
For sure.
That's the reality of it, but you can't, I think people try too hard to chase exit velocity on a swing.
No doubt about it. No doubt.
It's like there's plenty of ways to get stronger, get more rotational, or just clean up your swing. Like, okay, like, that took my exit velocity up a little, but you just can't chase it. It's like, it's not going to be like, oh, today I walked into the cage and I was usually 90 off tee, and then I was 102 today.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. No, to touch on Drew's point, 1,000%, man. We got to get in the weight room. We got to eat. We have to eat. We have to do the right things in order to make it happen, and it's not going to happen overnight. Like I said, I can change off of a tee 3 to 5 miles an hour in 5 minutes. That's okay, but that's not what matters. I want for guys that reach out to understand that it's a process and it's not just who can get there fastest.
People try to find the shortcut and everything. That's just the reality of it. And I was that kid too. Would be like, what's the easiest way to get 5 miles an hour on my exit velocity?
Exactly right.
There's no easy way.
No easy way. You have to be willing to invest in your time and the people that you're working with. You have to understand that it's not easy. It's not easy. Nothing about this game is easy. There's a reason why there's one Aaron Judge, there's one Giancarlo Stanton, Mike Stanton. There's a reason why those guys are one of one, right? So, like, if you're trying to get to that, awesome. That's a great goal, but you have to understand that they're 29, 30 years old, 34 years old. They're grown men. You're 15 years old and you're trying to do the same thing. Like, it's not going to happen. But if you get a proper plan, a proper nutrition idea of where you're trying to be with calories intake, outtake, and outflow, whatever's happening in your body, how many calories you're burning, all those things, we can develop that. That's for sure, dude. I can give you a program to follow for the next 8 months that you will guaranteed to get stronger with. Not even a question. I mean, you follow something that's rigid for 4 days a week, 5 days a week, you're guaranteed to get stronger to an extent if you're doing the right things. The issue with guaranteed to get stronger is if you're not following the right plan, what are you lifting? Are you lifting for bodybuilder physique, or are you lifting to be an athlete that rotates extremely fast and has to pull down, has to swing, has to do all those things where you need mobility in the shoulders, you need mobility in the chest, you need mobility in your hips, all those things. You have to understand what you're getting better at and why you're lifting that way. So again, going back to the point, like, that's a no-brainer for me. If you're 15 and you're looking for something, and you give me 3 years to get you to where you want to be, it's a no-brainer. In the first 6 months, you'll see results that you never thought were possible.
Yep.
Now look at that and think, okay, I worked with him for 6 months. Let me see what a year does. A year again is going to be, holy crap, what just happened? Now think about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years down the road. People just don't understand that. They can't grasp that. That if you trust somebody, it's going to happen. Find a way. Find a way to learn from somebody that's been where you want to be. Prime example is him and I.
Yeah,
Like, it's a prime example. I found Drew in 2020 in COVID. We were taking BP. I'm sorry, we were hitting live off of Quinn Priester, who was a good buddy of both of ours, and or both of us. And he was catching as a high school guy. His senior season got blown up. I was a professional guy that came back. Like, graduated 5 years before him, so I'm 5 years older than Drew. Like, it's a crazy scenario of how we met and how we kind of transitioned into helping him search for his goal, achieve his goal, right? Like, when I found Drew was a skin and bones. Like, you look at that kid and you think, wow, he's going to play Division I baseball. I couldn't believe it. Now, fast forward 2 years after that, he's got a scholarship to play professional or to play college baseball at the Division I level. Now, fast forward 2 more years, he's an all-star in the Frontier League, something I never got to do. So it's pretty cool to see what trust can do. Trust somebody enough to where they've been where you want to be, understand what that goal is and how you're going to get there, and see how it works.
Yeah, you hit it right in the head. I was like, just the amount of stuff he's done for me has been crazy. Just like, I think a lot of it too is just having loyalty to that one person. Like, there's so many people that I've had as hitting coach and stuff like that, and Wyatt got me to a point where it was my freshman fall, and I had a really good freshman fall. I was like, wow, like, that helped a lot. Like, and it was a simple thing. It was literally all we worked on was hitting the ball up front.
Yeah, just getting a better contact point.
Like, the contact point was right here instead of being out there, and I never knew how to pull the ball with power. And then once that kind of clicked with me, I was like, wow, like, he knows what he's talking about. And it was something so simple that literally anyone could have told me.
Literally.
But then like you said, the trust grew, and I was
bought in.
Yeah, exactly. And buying in's a huge thing. I could go on that for forever.
You can touch on it for a little. And then keep
like,
going.
Whatever you do, you got to be bought in on.
Yes.
It could be right, it could be wrong. It doesn't really matter. If you're bought in on it, there's going to be some type of success for it. I totally believe in that. I think a lot of the time when guys are like hesitant on things, that's when there's no success.
Yeah, when you're 1 foot in, 1 foot out, I think it's never a good scenario. So, 1, do your homework who you're seeing. 2, search for multiple people and pick from 1 or pick from 5, pick from 10, whatever that looks like, right? Be able to understand exactly what they're going to do to you and how they're going to help, and kind of go from there. Like, it was easy for Drew and I. 1, he's a catcher, I was a catcher, easy to work with that side of it, and then the hitting side just kind of came along after the catching side, right? So learning what you can kind of expect from somebody is a big tool, right? Like, it's kind of funny to say, like, I built this place, and in the back of my mind it was like, well, I kind of need a place for Drew to work out. Like, it's stupid for me to say that. I need a place for me to do my job and for me to create content. But in the back of my mind, it was also like, I have a loyalty to him too. Like, if I don't have a place to be, I can't work with him, right? So, like, I had that aspect of kind of really trying to focus and get this thing done as soon as possible because I needed a place to do my job. And I can't, if I'm not efficient, I'm not helping him. I'm not helping him have a great offseason, hopefully sign with an affiliate team and go play in the big leagues, man. Like, that's the goal for everybody, right? So it goes both ways. It's a two-way street. I talk about this often with guys in my program, and I know this is a side point, but, like, there's so many times where I get attached to guys. If you trust me, dude, I'll give you the shirt off my back. Like, this is such a cliche thing to say, but if you trust me and have that aspect of understanding that, hey, man, I'm growing my business, I'm growing my remote program, I'm growing my in-person, I'm a ride or die for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's guys I send there's guys I send stuff to for free all the time. Like, you send your trust in me, man. There's a hoodie or a shirt waiting on your doorstep just because that's the type of person I am, and that's the type of person that I want you to understand. I'm here for the long haul. I'm not here for 3 months. I'm not here for 6 months. I'm here for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, whatever it takes to get you to that goal. That goal could be playing in Australia, making $10K a month playing in Australia and having a great life. You and your wife get to go out there, you get to have a kid out there, whatever that looks like, right? Or going to play in Japan, dude. There's so many opportunities in this game, and I tell Drew this all the time. Like, if I grow this thing the right way, if this thing gets to where I think it can be and I know it can be, I need help. Like, I'm not trying to grow this to just see 20 people and be like, okay, capped my time out, you know, this is a great amount of money to make and this is what I can help my family with. Like, why? If I can impact 100 kids because my passion for the game is enough for 100, why not?
Absolutely.
Let's see what I can get this to, guys. There's not a point of a community where you stop that community from growing because whatever, right? If I have 20 guys and I have community call, that's great. I want 10 of them to show up. Half is a great number. If I have 100 and I get 50, how much better am I making those other guys? The 15-year-old that trusts me now gets to hear you talk or gets to hear Kobe talk. That who knows? He's in AA next year. Who knows? Like you want that community aspect of it to understand where you're going, and I can get you there. It's kind of a cool thing, but I'll end it on that.
Yeah. No, you're
it's a good
right
point.
on with it. Like,
it's a good point.
You can't just stop it, like, especially the way you are. I know the way you are. It's like when you see the success, you don't want to stop.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
the same way. Like in my baseball career, it's like my whole goal in high school was to play Division I baseball.
For sure.
Division I like you get to Division I baseball and you're like, okay, what's next? I want to play professional baseball.
Yes.
Now I wanted to play affiliate, obviously, right out of college, but that just wasn't what happened. It just wasn't in the cards. Go to play affiliate ball and you're like, okay, this is professional baseball. Like, this is what I wanted. And then I had success there. I'm like, I want to go play affiliate ball now.
Yes.
It's like if I get to that spot, and hopefully I do. It's like the next thing is to be like, okay, I'm in low A or high. It's like, okay, I want to get to double A.
I want to get to
triple A. I want to get to the big. It's like it's just a constant battle. And there's people who are wired like that where it's not never enough, but there's always more.
No
you
doubt
always
about
want more.
It's a competitor in everybody,
Exactly.
man. You want to be able to get into a community that's willing to never let that feel like there isn't another step.
Mm-hmm.
You want to compete through everything.
Yeah.
Like, I went from being an athlete to being a coach, now to being a trainer that's really looking at it from those eyes of like, hey man, I see a lot of potential in you. I see a lot of potential in other people. Like, it's not in my best interest to be like, I'm only going to see Drew twice. I'm only going to see him for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll look for another client or I'll look for another kid to impact. Like, no, like there's so many ways for me to help you, not only now, but on the catching side, on the hitting side, as you grow as as a human, right? Like, I grew as a human by having a kid 6 months ago and my life has changed completely.
Yeah.
Holy crap. It's crazy, right? My wife and I, my wonderful wife that's allowed me to do all of this crazy shit stuff, but it's you know, there's so many things I can go into. This is obviously such an off tangent, but like without her, none of this is possible. She holds down the fort when I need her to. I can go and rely on her to do things that nobody should be able to rely on their wife for, but my wife allows me to do this crazy stuff of starting a random business and deciding to be a coach and impact kids from 8 years old all the way through 26 years old of guys that I work with. Like, it's such a crazy world that we live in, and it's such a crazy thing that I think my gist of this is like, bet on yourself, dude. If there's a scenario for you to work through all of these things, bet on yourself. I bet on myself backing out of a Division I scholarship because I hated that place, man. I was in an awful mental state. I got a really good scholarship to go play. Broke my thumb, tore my hip labrum. A lot of things happened. People told me that injuries weren't real. My thumb wasn't broken. My hip wasn't torn. Long story short,
It's a mindset.
it's a mindset, dude. I could go on that for hours and hours, but there's so many things to touch on, right? Like, I backed out of a scholarship, got hip surgery, decided I was going to go to a community college 20 minutes from my house, not go to one 6 hours away that's known for getting guys to Power 5 schools, because, you know, I was like, you know what, I really should probably train at home, really should probably be in a comfortable mind space after what happened, and I know that if I find one other guy that's like me, I'll make it. I found 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 15 of those guys on that one team, and some of those guys are my best friends to this day today. Like, I bet on myself being in a hip surgery position, couldn't get cleared to play until March 10th. What did I do? I went out and played March 13th, and then we went on to be an All-American, go play for school, literally for free, and also move wherever I wanted to be at that point. Like, betting on yourself is endless, man. There's nothing I can say negatively about betting on yourself. If I would have failed, I would have still been in a better place than not trusting myself or not trusting my position, right? It's always easy to say for the guy that succeeded, got to where he wanted to be, like, always easy. But it's so good for you, man. Have that mentality in life to be able to say, hey, I don't care what's put in front of me, I'm getting through that wall. If it's a brick wall, if it's a concrete wall that's 10 foot wide, whatever the hell it is, right? 10 foot thick, I'm getting through it. It's gonna happen. I'll start pecking slowly and slowly.
I mean, that's the story of my baseball career. Is betting on yourself.
Literally.
A little background on my baseball career, just with that point, was like, in high school, I was super under recruited. Like,
For sure.
few D2s, few D3s, not really any JUCOs. To be honest, I didn't really talk to any JUCOs, and there was one Division I school. They saw me at a tournament, liked what I did catching. That's really all they liked was how I caught. I started talking to them, and I probably bugged the guy to no end about. I texted him all the time, and I'm actually still very close with him to this day. But I text him all the time. Hey, like, any word? And be like, no, not really. Ended up going out to a camp there because they were like, hey, let's see you one more time. Caught it pretty well. Hit very average. I was a very average hitter in high school, and it just never really heard anything. And one day they're like, the head coach called me and was like, hey, we're gonna have you on a visit. And I was like, oh, here we go. I'm gonna get my scholarship, all this stuff. And it was late in the recruiting class for my recruiting class. And on the visit, he goes, if we have a roster of 38 guys, you're number 38 on that roster. He's like, there's not a lot of room. COVID, all the guys are coming back now, all the fifth years. You're gonna have to really show us something for you to make the team. It's like,
Sick.
screw it, why not? Like, I've always wanted to play Division I baseball, might as well go do it.
Yeah.
So I accepted the preferred walk-on, and I had a really good freshman fall, like I said. Made the team, traveled my freshman year. I think I started 13 games. Now, I did what the team needed me to do. I caught it really well.
Yeah.
If you look at my freshman, sophomore year hitting numbers, they're really bad. Really bad. And, I mean, I never really had a great year offensively. I got hurt my junior year. The third game of the year, broke my hamate bone.
Yeah.
And senior year was just pretty average. It's
Yeah.
like I just never really had a good offensive year. But I did what the teams needed me to do. And my first 2 years, we went to the NCAA tournament. We went to the regional championship my freshman year, lost to Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Went to the Florida regional my sophomore year, and beat Liberty, and went on to almost beat Florida to make it to the regional championship again. We ended up losing with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom half of the ninth. But I mean, like, I wouldn't change that for the world. Like, being able to experience that in college, just because I was like, you know what, screw it. Like, I'm gonna bet on myself. Then even the professional side, didn't have a great senior year, and the team was like, hey, like, you can come catch for us a little bit. And I had no idea what to expect. Maybe I'd catch 1 day a week, or not catch a lot, just be a bullpen catcher. But I was like, you know what, why not? Like, I've always wanted to play professional baseball. I went out there and I ended up being an all-star.
Yeah.
And now I'm talking to a few affiliate teams that like might give me a chance. It's crazy when you look at things like the odds are all against you.
Always.
But what happens if you end up breaking through? It's like and I've been lucky enough to break through a few times. The fact that I've put myself in a pretty good chance to make a career out of this.
For sure.
And
it's so cool.
It is really cool. It's just the bet on yourself. Like, I got to a point my senior year.
Yeah, I get chills just thinking.
Yeah,
about
I got to a point my senior year where I was like, I don't even know if I want to keep playing baseball. Like,
For
we
sure.
had a terrible year as a team. I didn't have a great year, and I just didn't have that many opportunities. I was like I always wanted to go into coaching, but I was like, but looking back on that, if I didn't bet on myself in professional baseball, I lived with regret forever.
For sure. It's that line of understanding, like, hey man, you never want to walk off the field unless you have to.
Exactly.
It's a great point, and this is something we could do a whole documentary on. Holy shit! But
30 for 30.
Literally, but it's just there's so many good things that happen from 2 guys sitting in a room talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I hope that if one person watches this and has that mentality of like, screw it, let's just see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I can impact you. I hope Drew can impact you. I hope that someone's willing to take that chance and see what the results are, dude. If you fail, who cares? Nobody cares. You know how many people in business fail, go bankrupt, and start again, go over and over and over again? Some of the richest people in the entire world started things in their garage with a single computer.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what can happen? Who knows what can happen, right? So never be afraid to chase your passion. Never be afraid to chase what desires you have, what dreams you have. Like everybody says, it's the American dream to do this, that, and the other thing. The American dream is being able to go after that opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's what it is. It's not the fact that everybody has a chance to or the option to. Some people don't have the option to, and that's okay. But make your time, make your chance, make it happen, and kind of trust yourself and see where you can go. Like there's just so many things that can happen to benefit you there. And again, this whole place is built on that aspect of bet on yourself and see what happens. Like I'll say two more things. It's kind of crazy when I can look back at this and say, you know, I left a job that treated me very negatively in the aspect of having a kid.
Yeah.
And I say very negatively. It's not very negatively. It was just
Wasn't what you wanted.
there was so many people that didn't understand what was going to happen when I was barking down the door saying that was going to happen. And it is what it is, right? They go on, hopefully, wish the best for them, whatever. But there's an extent to where I left a job, guaranteed me very, very, very good money, probably the most money I would have ever made in my life to this point in a year. And I left that job with a 10-day-old child. It's wild. Now, my wife worked full time at the time, part time now, and think about that. I have a mortgage payment, I have insurances I have to pay, I have to pay myself in order to do it, and I just left every bit of income that I've ever had to chase this dream. Now, there's a difference when you chase a dream and you're 15 and you're 20 and you're in college. That's a completely different scenario. Talk about the balls you have to have, not for me, but for anybody that has to be able to put food on the table, has to be able to pay a bill, and now says, you know what, dude, all the kids that I have, I did this for every one of my clients. Now, half of them didn't come with me. That's okay. That's okay. Choose your right. Do whatever you want to do. That's totally fine. But for the people that came with me, dude, like, you literally allow me to do my job and allow me to provide for my family. It's a crazy aspect of what happens when you bet on yourself, man. There's no end to it. It's an awesome thing, and it changes the way you think about life, dude. It really does. It really does.
It got deep.
Damn, it did. I shouldn't have gone there, but it was on topic. It was there.
I love it.
Some people can look at an Instagram profile and just be like, you know what? I don't really care about that guy. I don't really know what he's trying to teach. I don't really know what it is. If anything happens out of this, hopefully, again, I can change one guy's life, one player's life. Drew can do the same thing. Or I can inspire people to trust me in that, like, dude, I was willing to lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
Literally everything.
Sometimes you have to.
In order to make this happen and make this happen. Like, it's a wild world, and again, without my wife and without the support system that I have with her, like, none of this would have been possible. She was able to kind of keep me strong when you're doing something crazy as hell. And it's a cool way to think about it. Again, we'll get off of the sob story and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's crazy to think about. Is there anything that I'm? Any other way that we should go?
There.
We kind of hammered it out. I'm trying to think how long we were going, but I'll do this. I'll say this. I would love to give a shout out to Proven 4. Obviously, Proven 4 is behind us there. Proven 4 is here. If you are looking for products in terms of anything with pre-workout, BCAAs, they're coming out with creatine here really soon. They are literally, I think, in my opinion, the best product. There's a reason why major league teams and organizations all buy these products. They're NSF certified, and they are now making a junction. They're now making a turn to safer products. They're getting rid of the red dyes. They're changing their formulas, which is a crazy thing to think about. They're doing it for their consumers. They're doing it for the people that are actually taking their products, trusting them with their performance. And I can't say enough about them. I want to give a huge shout out to Shelly and the P4 team. I know they've hooked Drew and I up with plenty of products that are amazing, and I literally take them daily. I'm currently on a fast right now, so I'm going through it. But again, wrap it up to say huge shout out to them. Wouldn't be able to do some of the things that I do in order to push kind of some products toward my guys, because again, everybody asks me all these certain questions. I love that I have a product that I believe in. I take myself. And someone as wholesome and as awesome, humble as Shelly is, I can't help them enough, and I can't thank them enough. Yes, thank them enough. Thank you.
Highly recommend the cherry limeade pre-workout. By the way.
Perfect. But no, thank you guys again for episode 2. If there's any other topics, please comment down below. We'd love to touch on this. I think Drew and I are going to try to knock out at least an episode a week. Try to get some of those posted and kind of break some of those up for the short form content as well. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you like it. Comment if you have something that we can talk about, because we're searching for topics, man. We can talk for hours, but we want to make sure it's a little bit more on the efficient side for you guys, so you're not watching 3-hour episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else you want to touch on?
No. Thanks for watching.
Perfect. Appreciate you guys. Thank you.